Can you clarify what you said about genes? Are you saying that there are genes that directly control modes of thought, or there are genes that through some carrying out physiological changes change the ability for certain forms of thought?
And both, probably.
Right.
What I'm really saying is that our, using intelligence and personality as two of the best understood, particularly intelligence is well understood by psychology, personality more recently so, that these are substantially, not entirely, but substantially genetic and inherited, and that how this works is becoming clear, month by month or certainly year by year, and so we're going to soon, I think, be in a position, for example, of being able to look at the probably very large numbers of genes that affect intelligence in very large populations of people very cheaply and easily, and the disagreement of that will melt away, I would say.
Can I just ask one? You say that religious conservatism will prevail, but you also talk about changes in human nature and give substantial examples of that. But religious conservatism, fundamental religious conservatism, believes that human nature is controlled by or specified under the concept of original sin. And if that is the case, they cannot see change in the way in which you're suggesting it can come about.
Well, that isn't actually the case. Mormons don't believe in original sin.
Mormons apart. I'm talking about. Mormons are only a part of the evangelical movement.
I'm just. I don't want to get down to the very specifics of it. I want to use Mormons or evangelical Christians as an example of a group that would put their understanding of the meaning and purpose of human life above transhumanist imperatives, and would the changes that would be permissible to humans would be dictated by the religious understanding rather than the hedonistic imperative.
But you're assuming that the religious understanding would be that of the Mormon type rather than the fundamental Christian beliefs which actually prevail in America at the present time.
I think it's a bit of a complex thing to discuss, but I don't actually agree that that's necessary.
Can I just ask again about that? Because I'm trying to just clarify this now, because this dichotomy between the transcendental and the transhuman, how that plays out in terms of what society will look like and how people will live and experience their lives and so on, and what opportunities are available and so on. I'm interested in that because you're saying that's actually determined. How society plays out and how we live in the future will be determined by two belief systems then, the application of two systems of belief. Your transcendental model, it has to be a sort of Mormon style one as opposed to say an Islamic or a Christian or an Orthodox Jewish model of religion. This then, you're saying, is we have to determine what that is. People have to make decisions. We're just back to where we were, having to argue for particular ways of living and organising the world. Are we talking about ideology then? Different competing ideologies?
Well, I used to be, a few years ago, I would have been very much on the transhumanist side, and I felt that the key thing, it's an imperative. If you have a secular worldview, transhumanism is an imperative. Humans have to be able to take control in this kind of way, in my opinion. But I don't see any sign that we're going down that path. I see a great deal of resistance to that point of view, to the point that I don't think it's going to be quick enough. I don't think, I think if people had really embraced this idea of technological innovation, of enhancing humans, of genetic engineering and so on, if that had been embraced socially, we might have got there quick enough, but I don't think it's going to happen quick enough. And I think that, therefore, it's not going to prevail. It's too individualistic, probably. It's too much control concerned with individual happiness, and alliances are not emerging. transhumanism is a very tiny thing, and it's mostly very intense mathematical young men who are interested in it, many of whom don't have families. And clearly they're not persuading everybody else. You know. I think they've got a very coherent worldview, but I don't think they're persuading anybody. Contrasted with certain modern type of religions, they're expanding, they're confident, their Mormons have tens of thousands of missionaries at work now all around the world. They believe they're correct, and they're doing something about it. I think there's really no comparison in terms of the likelihood of thriving of the two sides.
But aren't the Mormon missionaries just doing what in the past people might have done in terms of arguing for organising around political ideas? For instance, I actually share a lot of your concerns, Bruce, about some of the, you were talking before about some of the incoherence of contemporary thinking and the way that it seems nonsensical that we have all these solutions to human problems or potential solutions, and yet we just retreat from them and start attacking the idea that we could make things better. But I don't feel like, I still feel there's a chance to argue, and that's what, why people take part in these sort of discussions, come along and argue about it, because then it is a little bit like the sign that says the end of the world is nigh, and it's one way or the other, and retreating. Isn't it a retreat, in other words? And I keep coming back to this idea of how do these ideas apply to where we want society to actually function?
Well, I think the difficulty that people have is most of these ideas are on the political right. There's religious conservatives and libertarians are on the political right as well. And I think the basic problem is that most intellectuals are on the political left, and I don't think there are any coherent answers on the left. So people are not going to be very happy with that.
Well, perhaps it is a political problem rather than a problem of crisis or a problem of the limits on what human beings.
I mean, my favourite example of the incoherence of the left is the Respect Party, George Galloway's group, which is Trotskyites and Islamic fundamentalists.
Good point.